And I was wondering today how this is all going to come together. And as it began to unfold, I started to kind of see that. And maybe this is more so for the youth. It's for all of us, but maybe it's more specifically for them. So, I asked for the Lord to pierce hearts today, and He's beginning with mine, so I'm grateful for that. Matthew 16:13 through 18, I'll be reading that. It says, Jesus came into the region of Caesarea Philippi. He asked his disciples, saying, "Who do men say that I, the Son of Man, am?" So they said, some say John the Baptist, some Elijah, others Jeremiah, one of the prophets. He said to them, "But who do you say that I am?" Simon Peter answered and said, "You are the Christ, the Son of the living God." Jesus answered and said to him, "Blessed are you, Simon Bar-Jonah, for flesh and blood have not revealed this to you, but my Father who is in heaven. And I also say to you that you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it." Some of y'all know that I went to a pastor's conference earlier this week. I was there for 2 days in Orlando. I've never been to a conference, so I have nothing to compare it to. But I think they set the bar kind of high for me as like what to expect if I go to something else. And what they said was that this is not a typical pastor's conference where they give you tools to build ministry or a 5-step program to do whatever. Like it wasn't. It was about, the whole thing was about the centrality of Jesus on the cross. The whole thing was just focused on that. And the different speakers, but that was the overall focus of everything. And it's a 2-day event. I had to spend one night in Orlando by myself in a hotel room. And just end of that day, I just went back to my room, and it stirred within me this newfound desire to know Jesus more intimately than I have never known him before. Okay. So with that night I was praying in the room by myself, and my prayer was just like, "Lord, I want to behold you." And the image that came to mind was the centurion who pierced his side, where the Gospels say that he was pierced, and the centurion, when everything was going on, he fell to his knees, and he said, "This is the Son of God." He can't. I said, I want that kind of awakening that he had. And when I was thinking about this, I thought about the image from the movie The Passion of the Christ, where this scene is depicted. Mel Gibson has the centurion piercing Jesus, and as he removes the spear, blood and water come out, showers him with the blood and the water. He falls to his knees, and he comes to that conclusion. So I'm thinking about that image in my mind, and I'm like, Lord, I want to have that kind of an awakening that he had, So I'm just praying about this stuff, and then it's normal for me. Like recently, last few months, I began at home. When I'm having, not every time, but as like the Spirit leads, I've been having communion by myself. As I'm reading something or praying, I feel to do that. So I brought with me on that trip, they have like these little individual sized communion cups where they're like, it's one cup, but there's like juice in there, there's like a little piece of like wafer in there, so you can just like take them with you, so it's convenient. I brought one with me for that purpose to do. Weird thing is, as I was packing my stuff, and when I was home and I packed one of my children packed a second one, and I didn't know why. Like, I'm not only gonna be there one night. I don't need 2. And they're like, just take it. I was like, okay, fine, whatever. So in my hotel room, I had 2 little cups on my table, and I was anticipating just doing communion like I do sometimes at home. And I know now it was the Lord's idea. And He's like, okay, I have a plan for that second cup. That's what I want you to do. First cup, I'm gonna have you, when you feel led to, do your communion like you want to. But the second cup, we're gonna do something different. That second cup is not gonna be consumed. It's going to be used to behold the Lord. And this is what I want you to do. I said, I want you to use those 2 elements, the bread and the juice, and I want you to, right here in this little room, recreate that scene with the centurion. So I held the bread up, and I imagined his body breaking on the cross. And I imagined the veil being torn, and the Bible describing Jesus' flesh as a veil that was torn for us. All these things happening at the same time. So I'm on my knees, held it up, I break it, I just kind of think about these things. And then with the cup, the Lord was like, just anoint yourself with the juice. So I'm on my knees, and I just pour it on my face. runs down my face, runs down my chest. I'm on my knees. I look down, and at first, it's juice. At first glance, it looks like blood, just all over you. And I went to the mirror in the hotel room, and I'm just like staring at myself for like 5 minutes in the mirror. And I wipe the juice off, and it's like staining my skin. I can't even get it off my skin. And I'm just absorbing like the moment, trying to get to that place where he was, And then I took communion, prayed and stuff and all that. And then, when this idea first came to mind, I was really excited. I'm like, yes, I'm gonna pour the juice in my head. I'm gonna fall on the floor, just start shaking, speaking in tongues. It's gonna be like some awesome, powerful experience, Nothing happened, okay? I didn't get one goosebump, one electrical charge, one warming. Nothing happened physically, okay? Nothing, okay? And a small piece was a little disappointed. I'm not gonna lie. I was kind of expecting something powerful to happen. Nothing like that happened. But I'll tell you why I wasn't discouraged. I had this image come to mind. Has anybody ever seen, like on TV or in real life, a groundbreaking ceremony? When there's like a raw piece of land, undeveloped trees, high brush, and there's like a ribbon across two trees, and then some CEO guy in a nice suit with like a golden shovel, and they, scoop out a little thing of dirt and like clap their hands. Something like that. That image came to mind when I was doing all that. And what I left that experience was, nothing major happened today, but something major happened today, because that groundbreaking event signifies that a huge change or a shift is about to occur. And I was like, that night in the spirit, a ribbon was cut, dirt was excavated, and just like the CEOs go home at that nighttime, go to sleep, and they say, okay, now the bulldozers will show up. Now the cement gets delivered. Now the work crews show up. Now the lumber gets. It's like and I went to bed in peace, knowing that this thing happened, but something greater is coming. The next day in the message, when they're giving they're continuing with the conference, the first message of the day was just focus on that same thing again, And not to go into a whole lot of details, but the excavator showed up the next day, and a shift, a change, something is occurring, So I came back home with that. Now, bring it back here now. Again, the message, the large message overall was that the centrality of the cross has largely been lost in the majority of churches. And this is not just a message for us, this is a message capital C, church-wide. And even though this message was really for pastors to keep in mind for the churches, I'm adapting a lot of what was said to us individually. And maybe for today, more specifically to youth. Okay? Some of these are going to hurt, but they're eye-opening. New generation of Christians does not focus enough on the work and the person of Jesus. There's a tendency to write more songs about the power of healing, but not the perfect blood of God that makes it all possible. There's a greater focus on the enemy's works than over Jesus' works. A greater value on breakthrough over living the Beatitudes, and miracles over washing feet. The capital C church is built upon the full revelation of Jesus, the truth of who he is, and by him, the verses that I began reading in Matthew 16, the revelation that the church will be built upon is that you are the Christ, the Son of the living God. And according to Jesus, he is the one that builds the church, not us. What is that full revelation? Colossians 1:15 says, he is the image of the invisible God. 2 Corinthians 4:6 says, the knowledge of the glory of God is in the face of Jesus. Hebrews 1:3 says, Jesus is the brightness of God's glory and the express image of his person, God. And that image the world saw when Jesus walked the earth. And his body, that image, was the colliding point of heaven and earth at the crucifixion. His body was the battlefield of heaven and earth. And this central truth has typically not been acknowledged or proclaimed as it needs to be when it's the epicenter of who we are as Christians. This is the reason that it largely appears the gates of hell are prevailing against the church. The church that exists as a whole has not largely been built by him. It's a product of man. It's a church riddled with moral failure, compromise, contamination with the world, and God's people weakened by the schemes of the devil. And if the church is weak and limited and mixed, it's not Jesus' fault. It's because our vision of Christ is weak and limited and mixed. This is a lot. The substance of Jesus' church is the revelation of Jesus. And it's built by him, not our works. A church is not a church if he's not there. You said something earlier, Alex. Like, he won't leave us or forsake us as long as we don't turn our backs on him. They said something there, and again, this is applied to a church, but apply it to your own life. You know, sometimes you may get offended, or not offended, scared, or, you know, to say something back to somebody, or you may feel like you're too shy to stand up or something like that, you know, in the face of somebody that's going to challenge you. And you may say something like, well, what if I offend them? Or what if they reject me? Right? And the question was posed to us, what if we offend him and he rejects us? And that should like shake our core. If we don't live, breathe, and preach Jesus, and as Paul says, we are the most pitiful of all people in the world. And it's he, and like you said earlier, and I thank you so much for saying that, he is the all, not just part of the story. He is not an event or a mark on a timeline. He is the story. The cross is more than an accomplishment. It's more than a door we walk through to get to salvation and we leave in a rearview mirror. It's the greatest revelation of who God is. The King of the universe rules from a cross. And when I hear these people preach, you know, it's like, it's bad because it sounds so foreign to us, because we don't hear these kind of things brought up as commonly as we need to hear them. And it's like I want to write down every word, and I can't. You know, it's all good, and I feel like I'm getting this much of what God has shown me. You know, and I leave that situation, and this is what I realized. I said, I'm not satisfied coming to this well to drink for a moment. What I want is for the well to exist in me, so it can continue to overflow, not run out, and I can pour it upon other people. And it's the same thing Jesus said to the woman at the well, the centurion woman. That you come to me today to drink, but what I want for you is to have a well that's flowing in you, and that's what we all need to have. It's just this awesome revelation of who he is that just pours out of us uncontrollably, and that is what builds the church. So what is the solution? My solution for all of us here is that each of us need to have an experience when we behold him. And I'm not talking about you going home and pouring juice on your head. That was just what the Lord showed me to do. But we all need to do. 1 Corinthians 2:2 says, I determined not to know anything among you except Christ Jesus and him crucified. Well, all the knowledge and all the experience Paul had, he wanted to put all that aside for the primary purpose and goal of just knowing Jesus and who he is and what he did, what he's done for us, what he's doing for us right now. And to do that, we have to pull away. We have to get to a quiet place to focus on him. We cannot multitask and behold Jesus. We have to turn off things. We have to just get by ourselves and focus upon him. So what I'm going to do today before we actually take communion, I'm going to have Michael play a song. And all I'm going to ask you all to do during this time is just to be quiet, just be in a quiet place. If you want to sing along, that's fine. If you want to just listen to the words, that's fine. Just have some intentional time just to have the Lord speak to you and just show you something about himself that he has never shown you before. To bring you to a new place of awareness of the fullness of who he is, as much as our little bodies can able to understand that. So, kind of in a like spirit, in a like mind, and the Lord showed me to do this too.